Welcome all the participants to the second webinar in this thematic webinar series of Ahmedabad Management Association. All of you, or most of you, are very familiar with Ahmedabad Management Association and this new scheme of the things. While we are not meeting at AMA, which is itself is a charming place, but keep on coming, keep on participating in the seminars, webinars of Ahmedabad Management Association. This thematic webinar series, along with other programs of AMA, was thought of to see that while we discuss different topics, different experts of the domain, the underlying thing is to see that we want to encourage MSMEs. MSMEs is a buzzword. MSME બહુ આમ ચીલા ચાલુ word થઈ ગયું એવા MSME નહીં. Idea is to see that people get encouraged. When speakers like Dr. Pragnesh Vakshachari or Ketan Patel speaks, it automatically generates enthusiasm and interest. So the first webinar was, as you know, on MSMEs, survival, revival and growth of MSMEs. This second webinar, which is today, is on healthcare and pharmaceuticals in the COVID and post-COVID areas. The third webinar in the first week, Saturday of the September, is on training and education, academics. And the final will be on new technologies, what we call Industry 4.0 something. So this is a different diverse subjects, diverse topic. So today's topic, I welcome you once again, all of you. And I heartily welcome the two speakers. They are the best. I'm not saying because they are here, they are the best, because there is a great combination of them. The basic underlying common thing in both the speakers, both the panelists, is a streak of innovation, I would say. I would like to briefly introduce both of them. Dr. Pragnesh Vakshachari, a medical practitioner, always like to identify him as a family physician. And in fact, no, the pratha, the tradition of family physician, that is a unique thing for a country like us. For a place like us, is slowly was diminishing. You know, the importance of family physician. A family physician, as the name suggests, you can pick up a phone sometimes, ask him on the phone, you can say, sir, Maruche, I would like to meet you, consult you, and he is available. He is available most of the time, and when you meet him, the first thing, which you just now, Ketan Patel said, is an effect which translates. You meet the family physician and you start getting cured. Okay, he is a person available. You don't have to take too much of an appointment. Yes, appointment lena padta hai, but not too much of a time and everything. Dr. Pragnesh Vakshachari is an honorary secretary of Family Physicians at the Gujarat chapter. He is the one person who revived this tradition. He was after it. The family physician to hone hi chahiye. And I wish, like we all like to give full credit to him. He has also been past president of Ahmedabad Medical Association. He is, as he himself says, as an enthusiastic in the field of healthcare. Now, this is a learning process. When a doctor says, doctor such a repute and doctor such a experienced doctor says, I'm an enthusiastic person in the field of healthcare, that shows that he is been innovating for the benefit of the patients at large. Okay. As we were just discussing, he also has started a forum called Swasthya Setu, which has done tremendous work in this COVID time, lockdown and even unlocked time. He has been organizing so many online programs, inviting all the kind of doctors and other people for the benefit of people. Okay, so he is going to talk today on healthcare part of it. So welcome, Dr. Pragnesh Vakshachari. Dr. Ketan Patel, an innovator par excellence, I would say. I am fortunate to know Ketan. I would say Ketan Bhai, but I can say Ketan also, if you don't mind Ketan. I am fortunate to know Ketan since more than 35 years by now. We are friends, we are close friends. We studied together in pharmacy, LM College Pharmacy, by sitting on the same bench, of course. But he was at that time also gold medalist. Then he did MPharm, gold medalist. He did his PhD. Okay. But other than academic scholarship, his company, Troika Pharmaceutical, the day he started, I have been always with him. I am always watching him. I am now on the board of the Troika. I am a director on the board of Troika Pharmaceutical. But I have been watching and observing. We many times chat also. He is an innovator. He keeps on innovating. Throughout his journey, he has always come out with the formulations, research products which nobody can thought of. Okay, now there is a range of products which he has come out with. जो लोग सोचते नहीं थे वो फील्ड में he will go for antidote, he will go for poisoning, he will go for a new drug delivery system which nobody can think of and take the might of a multinational. His Dynapar AQ and Dynapar QPS are world famous innovations which the multinationals આપણે ગુજરાતીમાં કહે કે કાન પકડાય એ જ ઓકે he is an innovator in all field. आप उसके ऑफिस में जाएंगे तो एक HRD ह्यूमन रिसोर्स डेवलपमेंट का स्लोगन होगा ना, वो भी केतन पटेल वो देखेंगे एंड टेल द HR पर्सन व्हाई कांट वी राइट इन दिस मैनर एंड या दिस इज मैनर वी शुड राइट. So this is his sense of fineness, this is sense of dedication and innovation. His company could have been 10 times bigger, let me tell you. But he has decided to focus on innovation and he is one of the most innovative company. Most, of course, if I say profitable also, why not? He is deserving it. And people look forward, and Proteka Pharmaceutical has achieved a number of awards. Year by year, it keeps on getting awards at the national and international level. So I am happy that Dr. Ketan Patel, the chairman and managing director of Proteka Pharmaceutical, a company we can be proud of, is with us. And once again, thank you both of them to accept the invitation of Amdan and Messation as well as myself. Because since our contract program, I suggested the names to the AMA, and naturally, AMA was always ready to accept such kind of names, and you also accept. Okay. We are going to start the proceeding now. The first, Dr. Pragnesh Bhai Vasrajani will present his views on this time, and then Dr. Ketan Patel will present his view, and the remaining 10 or 15 minutes time, we'll have a question and answer session and coming up of thing. Both the speakers have approximately 20 minutes time, and I'm sure we'd like to say within that time. Thank you so much. Dr. Pragnesh Bhai, it's your field now.
Yeah. Thank you, Padmin Bhai, for nice introduction and introducing us to the program. You rightly said that a family physician is the most vital link and in this current thing, and family physicians are very much important for all of us, and as far as the current society is concerned, so it is important for all of us. I think presentation is visible, right?
Yes, sir. Perfect.
So today I am going to share in next 15-20 minutes. I will be talking about the opportunities and challenges in the post-COVID-19 era. See, currently we are passing through the time of a COVID-19 era. I think these are the unprecedented times that none of us has seen in past, and we hope that our future generations obviously do not go such a turmoil in future also. So whenever a pandemic occurs, and it is as it is named as pandemic, so it is a worldwide entity which is whole world is affected. Lot of things are put to test, and healthcare has never got this much of importance, or healthcare was never given such a big importance in past, except current pandemic. So there were a lot of things that has come up in this COVID era that we need to focus on, and as always it has been said that there are always opportunities lies in the challenges that you face. So there's also come up with a lot of opportunities also. Now, what are the common issues that we had in the current times? First is primary care. As Padmin Bhai has rightly told, and I started with that, the primary care is the backbone. The primary healthcare is the backbone of any country's healthcare. It could be a developed country or it could be a developing country like India. Primary care is important for all of us. Why? Because primary care helps in reaching out to the masses at ease. It's easy. You can reach them faster. You can address the public faster, and people also have got access to primary care very easily. So cost effective, fast diagnosis, and you will be surprised to know that in current COVID times, we have diagnosed patient in just maybe 1 or maximum 2 visits. So in 100 to 200 rupees, which is I think can be afforded by anyone, patients get the diagnosis. So that is very important, especially for a country like India. Then government hospitals. Previously, see, in a country like India, the notion as of now is most of the patients, they prefer private treatment, and those who cannot afford only go to the government treatment. this pandemic has changed the tables. Even the well-to-do families have started going to government hospitals, which unfortunately they were obviously not prepared because of huge inflow of patients that they had, and obviously no one could have been prepared for the same. So, which ultimately leads to lots of issues like shortage of protective gears, shortage of equipment, shortage of protective kits, shortage of masks, a lot of things, because the patient inflow was very high, which obviously the machinery was not ready to take. Then, again, one of the biggest challenge in the current era of social media is, I always say to my patients that we are riding an infodemic. Means the information keeps on coming from lots of the places here and there, and the authenticity of the information at times is questionable, and that creates a lot of issues. So that is one thing which must be addressed. And obviously, as I said, now the pendulum is tilted in the favor of government hospitals. The coordination and ultimately then private hospitals were roped in, and now even in Ahmedabad also we have got good quantity of private hospital beds which are treating COVID patients. So proper coordination between government and private hospitals is must. One of the sad part of this story is the more and more doctors or more and more healthcare, primary healthcare workers. We see the healthcare workers are doing tremendous work, starting from diagnosing them at doorstep to following them on a regular basis. The healthcare workers are doing phenomenal work right now. But more and more healthcare workers, unfortunately, are getting infected, and quite many, a huge number has lost their lives to this COVID pandemic. That is the sad part of this pandemic. And why this has happened? Because in the beginning, it was the availability and quality of the kits and material that was there. Then some logistic issues because you can't supply a huge amount at one particular time. And in a country like India, which is very big, there could be some black sheep who want to make quick money. And as we have read the things news in the newspapers about the poor quality of sanitizer and things supplies, so that can happen. So that is a big concern. Then there were some operational difficulties, like record keeping. As you know, when you don the PPE kit and everything, and you've got patients, scared patients with you, and all the staff is donned in PPE, record keeping, etc., is very difficult, which is vital in all the situation. Then lot of gadgets are used, starting from blood pressure monitor to the multipara monitors to pulse oximeter, these and that. Lot of gadgets are used. There were a lot of confusion about how to sanitize that gadgets, and unfortunately, some of the gadgets have stopped working because proper sanitation methods were not known in the beginning. Then, obviously, every time for everything you need trained manpower. It is pandemics are just like war. You can't fight war without obviously by trained soldiers. Same thing happens with the pandemic. So training of manpower, infection protocols in hospitals, in individual clinics was a big challenge. Then obviously availability of ICU beds, because initially the mortality was very high. There was more and more number of very sick patients who had issues. So we had a shortage of ventilators, ICU equipments, and obviously trained manpower like intensivists. So these are the operational difficulties that we have faced in the initial time. Then, after looking at everything, the Board of Governance of MCI and obviously the Health Department of Government of India, they have come out with the new telemedicine guideline. Now, telemedicine as such is not new to India, but before this pandemic, the acceptance was very poor. It was sparingly used. Some of my bigger institute, not by the individual practitioners. But this pandemic has changed the thing, and the teleconsultation has become the new normal now. As we said, it's a new word, new normal. It has become a new normal now. But the problem with the teleconsulting or remote consulting is there are a lot of players. You can count plenty of players in this field, but they are not organized, and still some sort of standardization is missing. Then, as we were just discussing before the start of the meeting, that in our country, and I think probably everywhere, the patient has got a mindset of meeting doctors in person. Then only they feel that they have consulted a doctor. So the look and feel of the doctor, and obviously for us doctors, look and feel of the patient is very important for diagnosing patients correctly. Even at times we can make the diagnosis by just seeing the patient who is walking into our clinic. That thing is missing. And most of the doctors who are senior, they were not very tech savvy. So there were a lot of issues in typing, sending prescription, this and that. So I always say that whatever technology, we have got a good technocrats in our country. They are developing wonderful things. But I always tell them, always have, whenever you are developing something for healthcare, doctors must be part of your team because that makes things easy. Because whenever you reach out to the doctors after making something, it becomes difficult to straight away it gets adapted among the doctors. But when something is made in consultation or in collaboration with the doctors, things are easy. Right? And we doctors are always open to the ideas, and anybody is always welcome to get our view before even finally making at least level of beta version before going to the final. And this remote consultation and teleconsultation has again increased the need of remote monitoring devices. And there were a lot of communication issues, as you all know. And forget the full PPE. Whenever we practice and we see our patients in OPD just with mask and face shield and everything, it becomes very difficult to talk on phone. Now, majority of the doctors are seeing patients through a barrier, maybe a sort of a plastic curtain or something. They are seeing patients from a distance. So it is very difficult to convey particular things to the patient. So which also had lead to some innovation tools, like we have got now some fixed SMS, there's WhatsApp templates that we, whenever a patient is diagnosed with COVID, we just send them the entire that ready message to him that all the majority of the frequently asked questions of the patient get answered. Then, and as we know, in this era, when COVID patients are admitted, the relatives are not allowed even inside the hospital, forget inside the ward. So that has led to a lot of confusion and a lot of issues. Why we need to explain it to the relatives? Because relatives want to see that their patient, and it is difficult because of this COVID era. The protocol is such that they cannot be allowed. So this is a big issue which needs to be addressed. Then other issues, people have started wearing N95 mask. You know, you will find people wearing gloves here and there. So they have started, and obviously they do not have any biomedical waste disposal facilities. And now and then we do see photographs of gloves lying flooded at some beach or some in garbage bins or something. But that is a big issue. Recently, I come up with a wonderful innovation by someone who has started making bricks from the PPE kits, which is a very good innovative thing. Some such things are required. And the biggest part, the routine patients, maybe you say India is sitting on a good number of, say, our estimate is 15 to 20% of population in our country is having some lifestyle disease, means diabetes, hypertension, cardiac disease or something, which these patients, they have missed follow-up with their doctor. Those who approach their doctors obviously do their consultation on phone, video consulting, WhatsApp video, via app, so and so, a lot of things. But there were a lot of non-tech savvy patients who felt left out, and their follow-up go haywire, and because of that, their disease also go haywire. And that problem we are yet to see. That magnitude is not known how much damage has already been done. In pediatrics, obviously parents do not want to expose their children to the this COVID virus. They do not want to come to clinic. So the routine vaccination schedule was missed, which is a very, very bad thing, because vaccines, they protect against lots of other diseases. So that was missed. Then there were some psychological issues on the part of elderly, because regular basis where we got a lot of elderly patients who come to our clinic just to talk with us. Their health element may or may not be major, but they just want to come and talk to us. They find solace and they are happy that they have spoken to the doctor. They've got some vitamin medication and their routine works. But because of this, they cannot go out, they cannot go to God, they cannot go to marketplace, because we doctors maybe don't allow the senior citizens to move around in the current era, because that is not good and that is not a good thing to have. Otherwise, one carry the risk of contracting COVID. So there were a lot of elderly issues and mental health issues. The depression and a lot of things have gone up. Then obviously the role of social media. There is a specific university which makes news and circulate on their own. So we don't know what will happen. And most important part, triaging of sick patients. So we always taught our patients, and we have started again with the help of social media circulating this, that whenever a patient is sick, rather than bringing him or her directly to the clinic, first make a call to the doctor, let your doctor assess the severity. I'll give you an example. Last evening, I got a call from a patient who was having chest pain. Normally, the patient could have come to my clinic directly and we could have referred to him on XYZ center. But because of pandemic, I told him that on phone, I could make out something that there is something serious with the patient's condition. So straight away, we can do triaging on phone. We contact the hospital and refer the patient directly to the hospital. So effective triaging solutions which judge the severity of the patients that is required. So patients themselves can make out that this is a serious condition rather than going to our primary care physician or routine physician. Let's away go to a nearby hospital fast. So in nutshell, the most important part, and not for a country which is a developing country like India, for all across the world, effective primary care is the way to go. As I've already told, 50 to 20% of population is expected to have lifestyle disease. And lifestyle disease need a comprehensive therapeutic treatment, like social training and that, and other things. Obviously, medicine becomes one part, but lifestyle management is very important. So that is required. So family physicians are must. Then in pandemics like this, family physician and primary care could be the first responder. You give them the power to diagnose fast. They can diagnose fast. They can make out fast. Even in current era of COVID, for example, one patient is diagnosed. As we all know, contact tracing is very much important. Know about the health of the other members, whether there are senior citizen contacts in the family, or kids in the family, or a pregnant lady in the family who could be contact. Such tracing and 360-degree is only and only possible with effective primary care, so which is the need of the other. Home care, I'm coming to that later on. As I've already said, 100 rupee diagnosis, it's easy. It's less investigation, more clinical diagnosis. Primary care is must and primary care has to be standard. So we look for some innovation that will empower the primary care to make things easy. Home care, as we know, in the later of the time, the home isolation of the COVID patient has started. The patients who are settled, who do not have any major comorbidities, they are now treated at home. And that again had lead to opening of this back sector of home care. Previously, obviously it was there, but COVID has given it to a very jump start. The only part is it needs to be organized in a proper way. Again, the persons or the manpower who delivers the home care and the relatives of the patient, they need to be trained. Obviously, this is not the time, but I know that technology can play a very big role in this training of this thing. Then, as I said, we need good monitoring tools. We need to know the blood pressure of the patient, oxygen of the patient, blood sugar of the patient. And now the era of nuclear families means senior citizens are staying alone. So for all this, them, every time it is not possible for any smaller thing, they can come to clinic. Maybe today in the time of COVID or maybe in the time of non-COVID era. So this is important, and we need to provide them a 360 wholesome solution, a consultation of doctor with proper monitoring, a pharmacy backup where medicines can be delivered to them at home, and obviously if at all some investigations required, at least pathology investigations can be done at home. That can be done, and continuous remote monitoring services, maybe post-surgery, post-procedure, even post-COVID. There are some AI-based systems which can monitor the patient, and if something goes wrong or something goes out of range, then the concerned medical practitioners can be alerted. So that saves time and saves a lot of lives. And to give some examples, there are very good, some interesting innovations have been done in the current COVID era. The first one is the curtain. This very simple thing, plastic curtain we use in day out. But this simple plastic curtain is now basically mainly used by most of the doctors in the consulting room. So you can auscultate the patient through plastic, you can examine the patient through plastic. So that serves both the purpose. We can examine the patient the way we want. At the same time, it cuts off the risk of infection. Very good. Then drones were used in sanitation, in drug delivery. Yes, I'm talking about India. I'm not talking about the Western world. But in sanitation, the drones were used. Obviously, surveillance in other part is different, but drones were used, and there are some drone services which are good for remote areas where medicines, if you want to supply medicines in a faster way, you can do it. Then there is a robot. This is a picture from a hospital in Jaipur. That robot is used to serve patients because ultimate idea is to reduce the human interaction and to protect the healthcare worker and to because we need a workforce to fight against COVID. So we need to protect our health workers. So this works. And this is the COVID bus, which is made by IIT alumni. This contains a swab collection booth as well as X-ray, which goes to the containment zones because the patients cannot come out. And this sort of innovation, and you will be surprised to know in some of the states, the tempo, the open tempo, which was converted into a COVID screening booth. The doctors and paramedical used to sit inside the tempo, and there was a window created. They just pop their out this hand and they collect the swab sample. So India is a country of innovators. We have always come out with big things. So such interesting innovations. There are a lot of such innovations which has happened across. So my friend, to sum up my presentation, I will say that this pandemic has given us the opportunity to innovate, opportunity to introspect, and opportunity to learn. So what are the scopes and opportunity? And what if you ask me as a doctor, then when I do find a gap or I feel a need for major innovation is primary care, as I've already discussed, home care, remote health monitoring, human resource training, because we are a large population. We need a lot of people. Then quick diagnostic tool, rapid testing, rapid diagnostics tool, and obviously to counter this infodemic, we need a good channel of communication, authentic channel of information. That is the thing. And I will just conclude my presentation with a famous quote from Albert Einstein: "In the middle of difficulty lies the opportunity." So friends, as we all are passing through a tough time, but I want to encourage and I will invite all the MSMEs to come forward and come out with some effective solutions for a country like India, whose healthcare in the healthcare scene, there are a lot of innovations and a lot of things still can be done. And we doctors are always open with the opportunities. So do come to us, and I will just wish all the best. And at the outset, again, I would like to thank Mr. Padmin Buch and Ahmedabad Management Association to allow me to share my views. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Yes,
Hello?
Padmin. Yes, I'm on.
Yeah, Padmin sir.
Yes.
So we are not able to hear Padmin Buch sir. Padmin sir.
Admin, your audio is not working well.
Padmin sir.
Should have.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes, Padmin bhai.
I think Padmin sir audio is not coming clearly. Padmin sir, we are not unable to hear you.
Maybe
Sir,
I will.
yeah, sir. I think Dr. Ketan, you can start your talk, sir. Maybe Padmin sir is finding any difficulty in connecting to the audio. Yeah, Padmin sir.
Start.
Yeah, sir. I think I think sir is also nodding his head, so I take it
Okay.
as confirmation.
Yeah, okay.
Yes,
So,
Ketan.
yeah, a very good evening to all. COVID emanated from Wuhan, and we used to read it in the newspapers thinking that it is way away from India. And there had been such epidemics in the past, like swine flu, etc., which really never troubled India and Indians. But this one came in very fast, and it came so suddenly that everybody was taken off guard. For a pharmaceutical company, it was important to keep the production on because in a pandemic situation, demand for some of the key drugs goes up immensely. Initially, the government also gave a kind of a instant response by locking down everything. So even our manufacturing facilities were locked down, and I think that lasted for about 15 days. But since it was necessary to continue the production, our industry bodies made a representation to the government, and the government also soon realized that if the pharma industry is asked to shut down, then there will be shortages of drugs. And the government was kind enough to consider that. But the lockdown itself gave us a great opportunity to introspect and to find solutions of how to keep the show running. The fact that the virus is so highly contagious was a nightmare for us. We have 3 different manufacturing locations in 3 different parts of the country. And we have an office in Ahmedabad, and everywhere at every location, more than 300-400 people are working. Plus, we have about 1,200 strong sales force across India. So, if we wanted to really keep the production going, we had to really think of some out-of-box solutions so that we could continue the show. And in continuing the show, needless to state, human resource is the most important thing. Our people had to be protected, and they had to be guided into, they had to be given guidance as well as education on the nature of the vaccine, on the nature of the virus, and how to go about so that we can continue without letting a sizable number infected. So essentially, the social distancing norms were given by the government, but in a situation like an office or a plant where there are so many people working in different teams which are coordinating with each other, it was not easy to bring about the social distancing. However, with a lot of work done, it was ultimately we could manage 100% social distancing. So that was one solace, that with the social distancing, in case someone came into the company having got an infection, he would not pass it on to many people. And disinfection protocols were, of course, very, very aggravated. We transport our people to the plants and back by our buses. So we had to ensure social distancing in buses as well. So we hired extra buses. So at every alternate seat, the employees were asked to sit and reach the office. Masks were provided. One very important thing that we did was that we were aware, as a pharma company, we are into the paramedical zone. So we were aware that the remedies are yet to come, and a vaccine would surely take quite a long time. So essentially, we came up with a hypothesis that at least let us strengthen the immune systems of our employees. So what we did was that we created a kit of some immune boosting nutrients like vitamin C, zinc, selenium, vitamin B3, turmeric capsules, and we distributed to all our employees and told them that every day they have to take this one portion of that kit, and they still continue to take it. And I believe that worked in 2 ways. Number one was that our employees felt that there was something that they were doing to protect themselves from the virus. And secondly, of course, these nutrients are known to have a positive impact on the immune system. So as a result, I think today we are into the 5th or 6th month. Between the 2,800 employees, hardly 23 or 24 employees got infected. And as a result, our production continued. So the challenge was literally, thankfully, with God's grace, managed. We could continue the production. The 21 who got the infection also, none of them went into the severe category. So most of them were home quarantines. And even today, every second, third day, 1 or 2 people do come back with an infection, but there's nothing severe in that anymore. And now, anyways, I think the virus has lost the virulence that it had. So people who are young and robust, they don't feel much of the symptoms. Another thing which we had done was that we had made posters on WhatsApp as ready reckoners, because you see the office premises, the plants and machineries can be sanitized, and they are even otherwise sanitized in a pharma company. But the infection is brought in by an employee, and that was the challenge. One person who brings an infection will infect another two or three. So we had to set up a mechanism for that. Our HR team used to monitor the COVID zones every day, and at the gate, the HR would take an undertaking from every employee that he is not aware of any COVID case around him or in his society. So if anyone said that, yes, there is a case in my adjacent society, we used to tell the employee that you rest for 10 days. And that was really very, very instrumental, because somehow in India, we Indians have that chalse attitude is tremendously ingrained in our mind. I'll just give you an example of how people complicate situations in our country. There was an employee who was coming from Kadi to our plant at Thol. And he had been on leave for four days. And on the fifth day, he reported the gate. And when he reported, he was asked to give the undertaking. So he said, "Na sir, हमारा सोसाइटी में तो पेला પેલી કંપનીના ભાઈ હતા નહીં છાપા માર્યું મરી ગયા છે." So we said, "Then why have you come here?" So we sent him back. What was shocking was next day, the health department officials came to our place, and they said that this employee of yours, his blood sample had been taken 2 days before he reported to the office, to the factory, and yet that fellow, after giving the blood sample, had presumed that he is not positive and he had reported to us. But fortunately, that man was not allowed to enter the company because of the declaration system. So I think small things went a long way, and ultimately we could really overcome the whole challenge. Biggest thing we did was also to educate our employees and we used to urge them that be responsible towards your colleagues. You may want to socialize at home. You may not want to take precautions. That's not about you only. You're going to put 3 or 4 other people at risk. So those kind of posters were also made. Be responsible. And thankfully, that challenge was overcome. And once you overcome a challenge, obviously there are opportunities. So the international market demand for some of the products had really gone up. Especially in COVID, there are a lot of injectables which are used, and the injectables are especially useful in patients with severe infection. For example, propofol is an anesthetic drug. It is very much used. So the demand has gone up tremendously, and whatever the shortfall we have faced, overall the pharma industry has degrown by 15-20% on the domestic market. But that shortfall has been overcome by international business. And the best part is that because a lot of pharma companies in India took up this challenge very well and continued to keep the pipelines of countries across the world filled with the medicines that they needed, India has gained tremendous credibility. At this point of time, many countries have realized that a reliable, dependable, and economic source of pharmaceutical, if one has to find, it is India. And the government of India has also done some good work. They have distributed some of these key essential items like propofol, enoxaparin, free of cost to more than 70 countries across the world. They had set up a program to asking companies to volunteer to donate. And most of the companies gladly donated because it was a good idea that the soft power of India has spread so much. And when you help a country during a pandemic, it is always remembered. So this has been an opportunity for India as well. Yes, our economy may be down, but that is bound to happen. But that doesn't mean that is the end of the world. As I said, the virus is already getting weak, and soon a vaccine will come. Besides, by now, everybody should ideally have learned how to live. So even if the virus continues for another 3, 4, 5 months, if you live properly, if you have your own ways of ensuring that you're not getting exposure, then I don't think there is any problem with COVID around. The best part is that when COVID started, very soon Gujarat became a hotbed, and Ahmedabad especially. the mortality rate had gone up to 6%, which means 6 people died for every 100, which is very, very high. But now the mortality has gone to below 1% on a national average, and I think Gujarat is also somewhere around that 1.4 or 1.5. So as I said, it's now only people who are above 60 and have comorbidities are getting affected. So the panic has also kind of subsided a bit. Another thing that we learned in this pandemic was that keeping the production lines on, I have already explained to you, but keeping the office work on, making sure that each department, right from marketing to finance to HR to sales administration, purchase, everything had to function to support the plants. And that we realized it's been a great learning actually for us. Fortunately, we at Troika, we have a lot of customized softwares for each department. So when this COVID happened and for 15, 21 days, people were not able to go to the office as well. Actually, all the softwares were on the cloud. So people could actually work through those softwares as if they were in the office. And that has been a big learning. So there are a few areas where we still have not kind of digitalized the whole processes. But now with this learning, it becomes essential that we digitalize every single aspect of our business, because you never know when one more calamity could strike again. With the kind of viruses that are spreading, and especially the practices of eating weird kind of organisms and animals, I'm not sure whether we may see another COVID in another 2 years or not. So that is why we have this learning that we can really get the things done remotely. Teams can also perform in tandem with each other. And like Dr. Vachharajani said, technology will now constantly evolve, because there is no guarantee this will not happen again. And besides, some of these technologies which we adopted have made life easier, because if you don't, for example, what he said about telemedicine, if a good software comes, and if the patient doesn't really have to go to Dr. Vachharajani's place, and yet he gets the feel that he is with the doctor and reports, etc., can be uploaded, etc., then it's bound to be an advance over what it is today. The convenience will go up, time is saved, petrol is saved, energy is saved. Likewise for the industry. The more we digitalize, I think we are going to have a new way of doing business. Personally, I being 65 years old, 64, and having a chronic sinusitis and rhinitis, I have not been to office for the last 5 months, but I have not missed out on anything. We've been able to do all conferences and meetings regularly, and the show continues. So I think COVID, in a way, has taught us a lot of things, which we would never have imagined earlier that we could do. And I am very sure that soon a vaccine will arrive, and the story of COVID, a sad one, will come to an end. Thank you. Thanks, Padmin, for giving me this opportunity.
But this is still, we are unable to hear. I think the mic setting is a problem. Yeah. Prabnesh sir, you can start your video, sir. Yeah. Prabnesh sir. Yeah. No, Padmin sir, we are unable to hear you.
Still, it is not coming.
Can you, sir, take out the earphone and try once again, sir? Yeah, not coming, no, sir? Audio.
Now unmute it. Unmute it now.
एक issue છે ખબર નહીં નથી.
Okay.
There is some technical issue, I suppose.
Yes. It should be fine.
You can remove the headphones and speak
There is an
directly into
expert
the
to rescue.
computer.
I think that should be fine. Expert to rescue. I think he should be fine now.
Family physician to rescue.
No, there is an expert. I can see the in the background. Expert to rescue.
Yeah.
I think, Padmin,
If you can
remove the headphones and talk directly into the computer.
remove the headphone only, sir. From the laptop also, sir. From the laptop to the,
Now the mic. Yeah.
Now you will be using, I think. No, sir. It is not audible.
Can you not directly talk to the computer? You can talk directly into the computer. Let me give him a call.
Yeah.
So we can take up any questions. I think I'm not seeing anything in chat box. Otherwise, we'll start answering straight away. But there is nothing in the chat box. Let us wait.
Yeah, participants, there is some technical glitch. Meanwhile, I will suggest that you can post your question answers, which our panel members will be happy to answer. Yeah, anybody who would like to post any questions related to the topic, both the panel members would be happy to answer. Yeah, I think Padmin sir is trying to connect once again. Yeah, there is a question, sir.
Yes.
In this pandemic, how could you manage all the compliances?
Ketan
Who
bhai.
is it addressed to?
I think it is more on the industry side, so I think it is to you, Ketan sir.
Yeah. Well, when I said that we continued with the production, obviously there cannot be a compromise on compliances.
True.
I'll just give you an example. For example, if one room, packaging hall, for example, has 35 people, and there are three packaging lines are there. So what we did was we staggered all those shifts out. So two lines were operational from say 8 o'clock to 4 o'clock, 4:30, and the balance two lines were operational from. So there was no compromise on the compliances.
Right.
Initially, yes, whenever there was a problem of people, initially there was so much panic that once the government permitted us to start the manufacturing, the strength was hardly 40-45%. But then all the measures which we were taking, giving them the kits, also keeping hot water with some Ayurvedic herbs readily available. Everybody in the plant and offices were advised to drink that water. So gradually the strength came back to 85, 90%, 95%. And as the strength started increasing, we increased the productivity. When the strength was less, yes, we had to slow down the production because otherwise there would be a lapse in the compliances, which is not acceptable. So compliance is possible. I mean, that's what I said. COVID taught us things which we earlier would have thought were impossible to do.
Sure.
Okay, am I audible now?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah, you're back. Yeah.
Thank you so much. I said, okay, then I was able to hear you, all of you. So I listened to the question answer, Ketan. Thank you, Ketan, for that. And okay, one question is Dr. Pratesh Bhai. Pratesh Bhai, what do you expect from startups to provide to the medical fraternity? after going through the COVID, you have narrated some of the examples like drone and partially content. You feel that something more as a medical fraternity you're looking forward to, which the startups, entrepreneurs can work on it and provide you. Not only medicine, other than medicine also, because we are talking about healthcare infrastructure also. Okay.
True. True. See, from the startup point of view, any innovation which decreases the process time. See, diagnosis is one part. You examine the patient, there cannot be any shortcut into that. But the pre and post examination time, for example, at most of the 80% of the time, I am standing in my clinic because patient is sitting on the other side. 80% time I am standing. Now, I still at the same time I want to record the data of the patient because I have to write down who has come today and what medicine I have given to them. And there are some patients now they are sharing reports on WhatsApp and everything. So this chaos needs to be organized. It needs to be scheduled. And all the patients, for example, a patient is sharing me his updates on a regular basis. I need some solution which organizes it to one place. So first and foremost, help could be in the record keeping. Number two, triaging and aligning to the patients, informing the patients that this is the prime time that doctor is examining the patient, some automatic response or something that, or some basic frequently asked questions. We keep on repeating same advice 20 to 30 times in a day because whenever the fever patient comes, we have to inform them all the precautions that they are supposed to take. So we have come out with the raw idea of printing leaflets and giving to every patient of fever. But something more structured can become. So these startups can help us in establishing good connect with the patients, at the same time empowering patients with the authenticate knowledge which reduces the burden on the other part.
Great. Yeah, that's what exactly we wanted. Now, this is, yeah, very true. And I thank you, Prakash bhai. This is what we wanted through such kind of webinars. No, we want our coming together of the people who are actually practicing and
Yes.
telling what we are looking for. Okay. And that is the real need of innovation. Innovation cannot be in isolation. Innovation has to be related to the world. Okay. And that is where I come to Dr. Ketan. And in fact, it will partly to Dr. Prakash bhai also. Dr. Ketan, you are one innovator. Okay. In fact, Dr. Troika has also come out with the innovation in the normal product, like immunity booster. If Troika comes with the immunity booster, it is supposed to be different, and it is a different. So my question is that twofold. One is that do you think that this immunity booster is going to be there for longer period, post-COVID also, one thing, and what according to you, should be taken care? Because there are so many immunity boosters now. We don't criticize anybody, but we also need to have some kind of simulation of systems. Okay. So, do you think that as a startup or MSMEs who are in this field, what care they should take in terms of coming out with the range of immunity booster, and what could be done something further? And it's the same thing as a medical practitioner, so Dr. Prakash bhai can answer. Okay, what they are looking for in terms of things. Okay, I think I am able to. I am clear enough, right?
Yeah, you are clear.
Thank you.
I think, see, immunity booster, like you said, there are many cocktails available today. You need to have something unique which will attract the attention of the doctor. And when the doctor is in the picture, you need a sales force. So for startups, it is better that they do something in medical devices. Dr. Vachrajani has mentioned so many things actually that it gives me some ideas of what all could be done. So it is about observing, and he has shown the photographs of how the patient, how he stands. One side doctor stands, the patient stands. The problem of writing down everything. So a lot of things. Actually, innovation is not something which is thought out.
True.
It is something born out of observations.
Yes.
All of our innovations have taken birth because we observed something.
True.
So the general advice for startups is to keep their eyes and ears open and observe. Even if you can give an incremental innovation, it goes a long way and your business gets set.
And the first question that you should be asking to a startup is what problem you are solving.
Exactly. That is what. Exactly.
If you have got the answer, you should move forward, otherwise not. And second thing, if at all you think this solution is already available in the market, how much better is your solution from the existing product? 10 times, then it is viable. Otherwise, if it is it's a very small thing, please don't go into it.
No, what Dr. Vachrajani has said is what I always tell to students who are doing research in pharma sector at NIPER. So I always tell the teachers that when you give a research project, what is the quality of the problem that you have identified?
Exactly.
If you've not identified a good problem, the solution is not going to be useful to society.
Obviously.
So what you said is very true. Okay, what value are you adding to the existing? Even if it is a 25% enhancement over what is on the market, your business is set.
Yes.
I think wonderful. Both of you have really hit the really. And we take target research. What Ketan is a target research. You identify the target, what is required, and then you work on it. And the moment you come out with the research product, market is ready for you, and it is useful to the society also. Thank you very much, both of you. And before we end, I just have one more question, which I think.
Let me, Padmin, I would like to add something on that.
Please, absolutely, please.
All startups must also know that you must have a very strong self-belief in whatever you have done. And that can come only if you do a thorough job. Because an innovation entails a change in habit of the customer. So if we gave, for example, the first intradeltoid diclofenac, most of the doctors were giving gluteal injections.
Yes.
So we were excited with the idea that intradeltoid is the first in the world. But then some doctors used to tell us actually, hum to de dete hai yaar, patloon utar ke. And our Dynapar AQ was painless as compared to the multinational brand.
Okay.
Bihar and Uttar Pradesh, doctors used to tell our sales reps, यार ये पेन नहीं करता है तो पेशेंट कैसे मानेगा सुई रखी है. So we needed a lot of conviction to believe that our idea is good. Don't think that once you innovate, people are going to come to you with arms, take you in your arms and say, wow, fantastic.
Yes, that's
because there is a change of habit which you are proposing through your product. There will be some questions, there will be skepticism. That is why the need for self-belief.
Right. Thank you so much. Yeah, self-belief is the word. Okay. Now there is a question from one of the participants, Jay Soni. It's both of them. It is about telemedicine. How much response do you think a minimal payable telemedicine app would get with the authentic information about the doctor mentioned, and ease in process is also enabled through correct advertising with the right developers? And it's a long question. It's a long-winded question. But I think he's asking about the minimal payable telemedicine app. He's talking about that. Okay. So I think Dr. Prakash Bhai can talk about it. Maybe.
See, with the recent announcement by our Honorable Prime Minister about the digital health, sort of a digital health card, and if as far as the smaller information that I have with me right now, the good part of that project is all the collaborators, government is not going to create its own solution. All the existing service providers are going to be dropped in and channelized into a particular thing.
Oh,
if that happens, then this will be a big boon for all such startups who are providing any form of remote consultation, teleconsultation, electronic health record, blah, 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 whatever. They all will be connected and channelized to a particular channel. So if that happens, that will be a boon. And for any application, whether to be accepted by doctors or patient, first and foremost is ease of operability. If, for example, if I take 5 minutes in examining my patient and your application is taking 7, you're out. Simple as that.
Okay.
So I think that question, sorry to interrupt you, but what Dr. Vachrajan is saying, the question is not how much the app should cost. The question is how much value the app should add to the doctor. When you innovate, don't think of the cost, because it's not necessary that innovation has to be cheap as well. If you are adding value, the customer is going to be willing to pay a marginal premium.
Absolutely.
I'll just give an example. When we marketed Dynapar AQ, we had kept the same MRP as Vobran, although it was far superior to Vobran.
True.
So you need not worry about the cost and all. You need to worry about what are you putting into your app to add value to it.
Creating a habit, and then automatically product will go.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Yes. Habit will form only if it is simple.
Yes.
I think wonderful. Thank you, both of you. I think that answers the question in the very right manner. And just as I said, just before we end, I just take 1 minute about the topic which Dr. Prakash Bhai has talked a little in detail: home care. Now, home care, as we know, Dr. Prakash Bhai explained it very well. I hope that people have understood the home care part of it. And I would like to request both of the panelists to say about 1 minute about home care. Home care is something which has emerged. I think people don't realize in the time like COVID, where relatives, their own family members are not able to meet each other. But in general times also, the elderly patients, elderly people in our country and city like Ahmedabad, we don't have a very robust healthcare system. We don't have that kind of infrastructure also. Do you think, both of you, Dr. Ketan Patel and Dr. Prakash Bhai, that home care is really now required? And what are your views about that? What doctors, pharmacists, and government, how they can play their role for the home care? Thank you. Yeah.
Pragnesh bhai, I think you start.
Yeah, please.
Pragnesh bhai.
Acha, okay, fine. See, the home care is one of the most essential part of treatment. And as you rightly said, without COVID era, even home care is important. Why? Because the life expectancy has gone up. Now we have got a lot of geriatric patients. And I say, kind of nuclear families. So people are aging and people are staying alone and active. So that leads to more injuries, more fall, this and that, and lot of elements are being acquired. So every time for a smaller thing, you would like to admit them, would like to send them to hospitals for getting diagnosed or something. So obviously home care plays a very vital role. And if there are some smaller things like, for example, giving routine injections and routine monitoring and etc., and it has been rightly followed by if you know, the Gujarat Cancer Research Institute, GCRI, has gotten this protocol since quite long. There is a van which goes to the patients who have been operated by them in past, and they visit them on a regular frequency. So such kind of treatment, such in cardiac care, cancer care, any area where palliative care is required, home care obviously has got a tremendous potential. Only thing, I think one part is organized home care and second part, it should be covered by insurance, this health insurance. And that I think if that is done, the logistics, I think then the system, we have got online pharmacies, we have got online lab. I think we need to just to collaborate all together on a single platform and have doctors and paramedics in the loop, and you are there.
Right. Thank you, Dr. Prakash Bhai. Ketan, would you like to say something about it?
I think he has explained it very lucidly with an example of Gujarat Cancer. Only thing I can talk is he has talked like a doctor, I can talk like a businessman. That home care itself will give a lot of opportunity to startups to identify devices which could be very useful to patients who choose to opt for home care, because that is definitely more convenient. And as far as the medicines availability is concerned, now many of the chemists deliver the products at home.
Yes.
So that is not an issue at all. But I see a potential that home care means then the sales of several devices could go up, because then Dr. Vachrajani only has to be told on the phone, your blood pressure aatlu che, aam karo.
Right. I think both of you explained very well, and I agree that home care is a business opportunity with a social cause, I would say so.
Yes.
So this is something which we really need to do it. We must use the business opportunity, but since it is a social cause, we must try more. And as we know, Dr. Ketan, our own friends, pharmacist friends, are running home care business in USA, New Jersey, and New York. Our own pharmacy friends, and they are doing very well. Yes. Yeah, and of course, they have to be supported by certain government precautions and system, as Prakash Bhai said. So, thank you. I think it's a wonderful.
At the right time, he is gone.
I think he's connected, sir. Meanwhile,
And there is a lot of common area between both of them, and it worked very well. Thank you, both of the panelists, and thank you, all the participants, for being with us. Keep on participating in the AMA programs, and those who are not members of AMA, become members also. Okay, fine.
Thank you, Padmin.
Thank you. Radhika, you have a final word.
Yeah, I have shared a file. Thank you, Padmin Buddh sir. Thank you, Ketan Patel sir and Pragnesh sir for having such a wonderful session. And I also thank all the participants for attending the session. Further, I would also like to add that all participants are requested to attend, invited to the next thematic webinar series. The dates and the theme is also displayed on the screen. The next is on September 5th. That is on challenges for academics and training during this COVID time. So this is a very important topic which is on the next Saturday by Dr. Sunil Shukla, who is Director General of EDI, and Dr. Naveen Sheth, Vice Chancellor GTU. Then our next session is on September 12th. That is the Industry 4.0. 4.0 is already a past, by Mr. Darshan Shah, who is Director of Hitachi Higher Power Electronics, and Dr. Narottam Sahu, who is advisor at Gujarat Guj Coast and Gujarat Science City. So with that, I will thank you once again, everyone. Have a nice day ahead. Stay safe. Take care, sir. We'll end the session with this, sir.
Bye. Chalo, Pragnesh, bye.
Bye. Okay. Bye. Bye. Thank you both of you. Bye. We'll be in touch. Okay. Bye.